know, we help a lot of organizations experience monumental growth and change, culture change, and we are just blessed to have in our audience two people who have worked extensively with me, probably since our last conference. And before I bring them up, I wanted to introduce you to Katie Clinton, who's not here. But after our work together, she did a video testimonial talking about the change that she's experienced and the growth that she had. And she first came here to our conference last year, and she radiates this incredible energy. And we've got a rule, I don't know if anybody read it in their books, but if your cell phone rings, what are you supposed to do? Yeah, so last year, the only cell phone that went off was Katie's. And she came up to the microphone, and she did a powerful belt out of, what was the song? Hail to the Redskins. Was anybody there when Katie sang to us? So she did Hail to the Redskins. And we're going to cue up the testimonial so you can meet Katie, and then I'm going to introduce you to two of her team members who are here with us today.
Today was amazing. We started off really not sure where we were going to end up. And I knew what Julie had to offer because I'd been to her conference, and I knew that I wanted that energy to come to my program, to all the programs. But you just don't know how it's going to play out until it plays out. But I promised them that they were not going to lose 8 hours of their life. They were going to gain 8 hours of confidence, of better communication, of a better team. And I have not stopped hearing positive things since I walked out of the room. So I'm totally grateful to Julie for bringing her expertise to us and not just leaving it at that. We know that she's going to follow up with us and hold our hands through this process until we get to that golden place that we want to be. So I don't know what I would have done without her.
And what was it like when the program ended? How were people?
People were speechless because you just kept bringing it. It never really ended. You opened up a communication that had not happened, and they weren't ready to go. It just almost like it got started. So we're going to have to keep it going, and I'm going to need Julie's support to do that. But we're going to keep it going because it's not going to go backwards. It all starts with that vision. You have to manage through your vision and not through fear, and I can't say how many times you told me that, but I'm glad that we've had this opportunity to start that building process.
And how do you think this program is different than any other communication program or team building program you have put into place?
Because it's not sugarcoating things. It's not trying to necessarily bypass what the problems are. It's actually dealing with those problems and the root of them and how the change comes from within us, and it's not external. And most of them just want to have teams be happy together, but the team can't be happy together if you're not happy. So it's really taking that time to understand what the root of the problem is.
And what would you tell other organizations who are considering a program like this with Motivate Teachers and Julie Bartkus?
You need to determine what is your need. What is lacking in your program? What is the source of the problem? And if it is the staff communication, if it's those team dynamics are not there, and your leadership is questionable, and you're not confident in any of this, you need Julie. You need this program that's going to come in and focus on each other, on yourself, what you have and what you can bring, and celebrate that, and understand this is about the person and not necessarily the group all at the same time.
What would you say about Julie Bartkus and bringing her in?
Do it. It's not a waste of time or money. It's worth every penny.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and, you know, and again, she took that step to really invest in her staff. So I want to welcome up to my stage, who's going to talk to you a little bit about what we went through together over the past year since the last conference. So please help me welcome up Stephanie and Ala to my stage. Woo! What's that? Oh, do we have we probably passed the mic. Thank you. Welcome. Hi. Welcome. You like being up here? Yep. So this is Stephanie and Alan. They are directors underneath Katie, and we had some transformation happen. So Katie came to our conference last year, and she came back, and what was it that you experienced immediately when she came back from the conference? Because I know you talked to me about some of the transformations that she had personally and professionally.
Yeah, so I think that a big thing was that Katie was kind of leading by fear, and I think it's so easy to kind of brush things under the rug and say, it's just easier to just let her, she's grumpy every day, but it's just easier to let her be grumpy than to deal with her. And so staff was, yeah, everyone was grumpy, and the gossip was getting out of control. And when we had kind of gotten to this point where I was like, look, you've got to do something about this, or I'm leaving. Like, I can't handle this anymore. And when she got back from the conference, I was like, who is this person? So, I mean, of course, I like grilled her, like, what happened to you? All of a sudden, she's like printed out her vision statement that had been like probably filed 8 years ago. And it's like hanging up everywhere. And she's so excited and can't wait. Like, let's go talk to everyone. And this is someone who was like hiding in their office every day. Like, she just didn't want to deal with it. She did, she knew what was going on, but, and it totally changed her and our whole program.
And how do you think it changed you? Personally and professionally?
Yeah, I think...
so either just by what she did, so we could start with just what she did by herself. How did that change you? And then once we got into having me on site a few times, how did that change things?
So I think her enthusiasm was contagious. And this was someone who came back really excited about her program and what we had to offer to our staff and our kids and our families. And that caught on right away. And so I think that changed me.
Yeah, Ala?
Well, same thing. I mean, because Stephanie's with Katie in the office all the time, but to me, I rarely see her because I'm at the center and we don't get to see each other unless we have a staff a supervisor meeting, or if she comes once so I didn't get to know her that well. And just after her coming back, I'm like, this is a different person. It's not her. It's someone different. It used to be when she come to the center, I'm like, oh my God, Katie's here. She's probably looking for something, That's what supervisors do. They look for your mistakes. Now I'll be texting her, can you come? We want you with us. We're like super excited when she's there. Her energy, her power, her caring, it's just awesome. It's unbelievable because I'm like super close to her, very open. I can tell her anything, like anything and it makes work super easy. You have a vision. You want to do everything. You want to be positive all the time. You can't handle any negative around you. So it did.
And I want to talk about that because Ala, and I know you have too, had a tremendous personal transformation from the work that we've done. Let me first ask you, how big of a gift do you think it is when your leader invests in herself and invest in you like Katie did? From an inside scoop kind of perspective, how big of a gift was that to you?
It's a great gift. I mean, I have 2 kids, and my younger is 1 year. She's like 14 months. So everyone will think you're going to Chicago for 4 days and leaving your kids. I'm like, yeah, this is worth every minute. I mean, it's a gift. I just feel Katie spending that much money for us. This is a great opportunity for me. And I was telling Stephanie yesterday, I'm like, I can't not stop listening to Julie. I just want her to continue. And so we're very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell us about, so when I came on site, we did a program. And one of the things that you said that you go and you see a lot of the negative things that are unfolding. And you went through, I think it was maybe even just, the first day that we had together of doing our leadership training. And what did you tell me the next day?
So I was telling Julie that I'm like super organized and I like everything in its spot. Like I don't want to see, I mean, if I see a thumbprint, I'm like, oh my God, they didn't clean the house. They did this, they messed. And of course, with 2 kids and another older kid, I mean, it goes crazy. And like the first day training, I'm like, oh my God, I have to go 8 hours and I didn't finish my cleaning. I'll find this, I'll see that. The whole weekend is gone because it was a 2-day. So we went first day and Julie spent 8 hours with us. And the next day, first thing she asked, like, what did you see different? What happened different when you went back? Or what did you take with you from this whole day session? And I'm like, I was amazed because as soon as I walked home, I saw everything perfect, nice. I saw a happy family. I was so happy to go home and see my kids. And I did not see anything from what I normally see every day. And it wasn't clean, it wasn't neat, but I did not see it. I really didn't see it. I just saw everything positive, and until this day, this went on. It wasn't like 1 day or 2 days. It's still this day. This is how I see it.
And Ala has had some challenges with working with some negative team members. How has our training together helped you cope with some of those situations?
I feel that I'm a totally different person. I've gained actually super much experience. I don't feel like I'm like the superwoman. I'm like the strongest woman ever. I just feel I had a big rotation. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I did it, and yeah. Yeah.
Ala,
Yeah.
yay. You know, and this, it's really impressive to me because when you take, typically in our organizations, you take one negative person and you put them with a positive person. Typically, it happens where the positive person becomes, and you're like, what happened to this person who I just hired? But you've got to understand, especially women have this tremendous need, and that need is to fit in. So if we're bringing them into a gossipy, negative culture, even if they come into that workplace and they're positive and all this kind of stuff, they're either going to leave really quick because they don't fit in, or they're going to adjust themselves so that they do fit in and they take on that of what their team is so that they fit in. It's very common. And what Ala was able to do after our training was it didn't matter that she was still in the midst of having a negative person right there in her presence with her. She was still able to hold her head.
And I stood for my staff, and I wanted them to trust me, and I did it, and that person is leaving. Yeah. Because
all things unnatural will fall off.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a person. Yeah, Ala.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, and I think this is a real gift that you give to your staff if you do something like this, like Katie took that step. Because it changed your professional life, and these are Ala's words, not mine, changed your professional life and your personal life, too, where everything is different, happy, positive.
And this is Ala's first year as a leader. I mean, this was in her first year, and halfway through the year, Katie decided, you know, this person that we were really struggling with, this really negative person, for years we'd been struggling with her, and Katie made this decision to move this person under Ala, even though it was her first year as a leader, because she knew the change that Ala had gone through, and she knew that she could handle it. So even in her first year as a leader, it really changed her that much.
She told me that on my birthday. This is what you're giving me.
Well, you know whose fault it is.
Yeah, I know.
I like how you're blaming it on Katie, but yeah. Yeah, so when I first went in there, Katie and I looked at the organizational structure, and we had some employees who had some real strengths that I was able to see and that we recognized. I'm like, Katie, this is what we need to do. And it took her, like, I don't know, a little time to digest it because it was hard for her to say, like, we've got to move who and do what. I said, well, you know, you're giving them an opportunity for growth. And boy, have you grown, huh?
Thank you.
Thank you. Tell us about your I don't know, personal and professional transformation. I know you've got some things that you've been through too.
Yeah,
So if you could give us a little insight how things have changed.
Like I said, I had gotten to this point. I've been working for this program in this role for almost 9 years, and like I said, I got to the point where I was ready to leave. I felt like I wasn't being heard, and you know, I was really bringing these kind of issues to Katie and saying, this is what's going on, because I was really the person, you know, like in the centers and working with the staff, and Katie was kind of still in that place where she was like, okay, you just go, they really like you. Go talk to them, you go handle the problems, and I'll sit here. And when I would bring the problems back, she would have excuses for me of what, you know, why we couldn't fix that, why we can't do that.
Or maybe what's wrong with that staff member
Right.
and why they're saying that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or I mean, she has a really great habit of saying, well, but they're really good at blah, blah, blah. And so let's just ignore the terrible stuff, and we'll just focus on the fact that they are really good at filling out paperwork. I mean, that's kind of the point where it was, you know.
Yeah.
They're good at cleaning.
Right.
So
Yeah, some people will say, oh, they're really good with the parents, but teacher, this team, But you've really got to look at the teacher as a whole and say, well, they're either a valued employee or they're not.
Yeah.
Valued team member or not, yeah.
Yeah. So when Katie got back from the conference, all of a sudden I was trusted. And she said to me, I'm so sorry. I have not been listening to you. You've been telling me all these things that Julie just taught me. These are the things you've been trying to bring to my attention, and I did nothing. And I'm really sorry. And that day she was in that center, and she's there every day now. She's in our centers. We break it up, and one of us goes to each of the centers every single day.
Yeah. So if you guys want a couple golden nuggets, just some things are popping up here for me that I want to share with you, is that when it comes to transforming your team environment, make sure you do a couple of things, especially when you go back, you communicate a goal. So communicate a goal is number one, but also with that goal, make sure you are being vulnerable. Saying sorry or saying, hey, you know what, I take full responsibility. I realize there's some things I haven't done, and here's what I'm going to change. That makes a lot of change happen. Because how did you feel when she even said, I'm sorry?
Yeah, amazing. I felt validated. I mean, that's, it was to a point where I felt now I can grow. That here we are, and we're going to grow together. And it made me feel like I could now take responsibility for myself, and we could share that with our staff, who now they are all taking responsibility for themselves and saying sorry to each other and accepting their role in things.
Yeah, and it's amazing how powerful that role modeling is, because one of the things I do in my organizations is I always say I'm responsible. So if staff members are messing up, I'm like, I'm responsible. I either did this, 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 or this. And the cool thing is I do hear that now with my staff. So if Jess did something wrong, she's like, oh, my bad, I'm responsible for that one. So these kind of things, even the words you speak, are replicated and modeled down throughout your organization in a very powerful way, but we take that for granted. We're like, oh, well, I'm the leader and I said that and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It matters.
Yeah, and you feel empowered. I mean, it's an empowering feeling, and you can really pass that to your staff.
So let's do a very quick before and after. So give me some descriptive words of before, and then we'll go to descriptive words of after.
Okay, so it's funny, we actually, when Katie and I brainstorm and have our weekly meetings, just the two of us, we talk about things in terms of before Julie and after Julie. And so we'll say oh, well, when we did that open house, and we're like, oh, no, that was before Julie. Because things really have changed that much for us. So, okay, so before Julie, there was a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blaming, gossip, drama, a lack of accountability, and just kind of complacency.
Anything to add?
Staff leaving. We had how many staff leaving?
High staff turnover, really high. We have about 415 kids between 3 centers, and we have about 30 staff and 6 supervisor positions. And we were seeing somewhere between 8 and 12 staff every year that we were having to hire new staff before Julie. And it was out of control.
Yeah.
But they were, yeah.
Yeah.
And after Julie, we just had one, and she's pregnant, and it was...
Yeah, we had one staff this year that we had to hire, one position.
And how many did you have before Julie?
8 to 12.
8 to 12.
Every year, 8 to 12. And one this year. And they didn't even leave, they left because...
She's actually subbing for us this summer.
So she's still kind
of here. Yeah, one.
Yeah, well, that's really awesome. And we're going to talk about some numbers after lunch with your profit killers. But when you think about turnover, one of the numbers to calculate is that you could take what you're paying somebody on an annual basis, multiply that by 30%, and that's what it costs you for each employee that leaves your organization. And the shorter the stay, the more expensive it becomes, because then you're right away rehiring, retraining, blah, blah, blah. And you can eliminate some of those costs associated with turnover, but then there's the word of mouth, and experts say that for every staff member who turns over, 4 other team members are negatively impacted by that change.
And I think, Julie, something really cool, we actually just went through a series of interviews this past week for that one position that's open. And you were talking yesterday about how people are like, there's just no good staff here. Like, we don't have good staff. Like, I know we can't get anyone in here.
We can't find
We're
them. Where
like,
are they?
we're posting everywhere. We can't get the good staff. And we were so stuck in that before Julie. And this time around, we had so many applicants. Same places we always put it out to, and we had 16 people apply for one position within a week. We interviewed 4 of them, and I think 2 of them were referrals from current staff, and one of the girls in the interview looked at Katie and I and said, just being around you guys, I want to work for you. You're so happy. You love it here. And we were like, we do. Like, it's a great place to work. And the other girl said, my friend was so right. Like, I want to work here. This looks like you guys are having a great time. And so we're finally able to express that because it's how we feel.
And it's not because you guys have the brightest and shiniest buildings,
No.
the best
No.
equipment.
No.
No, right.
No.
But it's still, you love it. And that's really cool to show the contagious effect of just
Yeah.
loving what you're doing.
Yeah, and people
right?
we'd never met before. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I just want to open up to you guys and see if you have any questions that you would like to ask Stephanie, Alla, or myself about the transformation, because this has been a little bit of a journey. Are they saying they're going to give you grief? But we do have the mics open, so if you have any questions, I encourage you to come on up to the mic. We'll take 2 people at each mic. If you do have a question, come on up. Because I know a lot of you have transformations that you have to go through. So now's the opportunity to get a couple more action steps in your plan of action to carry forward into your program when you leave. This is a great opportunity, so don't miss out. Hi.
Hello.